Hello there. Hello and welcome. I have some models to paint. It's Friday. It was a good week. And I like painting. So that's what we're going to do. I've got three soon to be Chaos Lords. This guy is going to get a bigger base. We'll worry about that later. Um, I did sneak out and get these guys based early this morning, and then it rained all day, so that was good. In other news, I'm a mug salesman. That's excruciatingly hot, but yeah, it's my first test mug with my little logo on it. I'm so proud. Hey, what's up, Rick? So yeah, I do have to jump through a bunch of hoops to get this stuff to show up on a store, but that's stuff for me to worry about. I'm not going to lose my mind selling mugs professionally, but I do want to try out all the features that YouTube has going, and one of them is to sell stuff. So I went through down this whole rabbit hole of figuring out how to set up a print on demand online store, manufacturer all set up. Now I got to just find a place that delivers to Brazil, which I think I've found, and have a bunch of administrative crap to do that nobody cares about. But it's fun. It's a neat process. Anywho, what we're gonna do with these guys is I am going to hit them with a bunch of rust, streaking rust. But I've got to put something on underneath so that the rust goes over it, and then I pull some away with white spirits. So I got to figure that out first. And I think I mainly want to do that with their armor. But there are other features on this model, at least on these two, that are kit bashed off of the straight up Chaos Lord, where he's got this long sort of pelt. You can see it there too. Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. I have coworkers that live in the UK, so all day I got people in Brazil, I got people in the UK, I got people in Texas, California, Romania. So I'm constantly doing time translations. So what I think I'm going to do, because I'm not going to rust the cape, and I'm not going to rust out this fur, is I'll have those kind of stand out as normal, strong colors. Um, so I'll do something relatively pale, like maybe Xandri dust on the fur part, and something somewhat loud, probably a red, but I might see if I can get a purple going. Yeah, you are up really late. You always are. I always appreciate that. Um, so I'll do something bright on the cloak, something pelt-like on the pelt. And then everything else that's armor, I think I have to do some, I don't want to say loud colors, but brighter than I normally use, because then it's going to get covered in rust, and then I'll pull some of it back. So my thought is, I'll probably use like wah flesh green instead of a more Death Guardy green, and then I will either use Averland Sunset on some of the details so some yellow comes through, or Retributor Armor, which is super shiny. I may actually mix these two together to get this a little bit lighter. I think that's where I'll start. The other thing I'm going to do is thinking about dry brushing them with white, but I think I would want to do that after all the detail stuff goes through. Probably not. I should dry brush them first, shouldn't I? Maybe. Maybe I don't need it. I think that's probably an extra step I don't need. I will grab a couple other little things. So now that I'm in painting mode, shifting from all the construction I did the last couple of days. Alright, so I've got something to mix paint in. Grab a couple sticks. And yeah, that should probably do it. I am hopeful. Alright, I think I'm good to go. So I just grab this little guy because I mix paint in it. And when I'm done mixing paint, it's more than just well, maybe that's not actually going to come out. Maybe it will. I don't know. But generally speaking, if you have enough paint in there to start, you can just sort of pop the paint out when you're done, and then you're good to go. I mean, the other thing I can do is just push all these. Yeah, there we go. The contact lens of paint. Can always just flip them around and reuse them the other way. Anyway, I got a couple little bays in here that I can use. I think I'm actually going to use Blood for the Blood God on the cloaks, and that'll make them like as red gets. Super red. You can share the wheel up in a decent position. Rick, what did you start painting today? Need some handles. Handles. Big handle. Where are my little handles? Oh, so much stuff. Space is a mess. It's going to be time to clean soon. This place is such a mess. I'm going to have to clean it soon. But that's kind of fun. So look down here. Ah, there are my handles. Get this guy out of here. I do still have to paint that guy. He can be a champ someday. So because these two very similar Chaos Lords have a lot of the same parts, I'm probably just going to start with them. And then if I need to go back... Oh, does that not... Yeah, it does get big enough. Oh, this guy right here is... Yeah. From one of those boxes. Space Marine Heroes. These are not the most recent ones to come out. But he's like... He has a pretty cool name. I can't remember. It's like Garg or Garl. So I'll pick this guy up by hand when I paint him. But he doesn't have Crazy Cloak. What I'm going to do with him... Yeah, that guy is rad. See if you can get this to snip in here. There we go. This guy needs a bigger base. So I'm going to actually, but he has this prefab base that his whole foot fit in and all that. So what I'm going to do is put him on a larger base on top of the base. And the temptation is to just center him. I'm not going to do that. I'm actually going to push this base to the back because it gives him a little bit of stage up front where I can put more stuff. I got little Nurglings that I primed this morning too. So I can put like a little stack in front of him or something like that. Basically, his whole shtick is going to be that he's got a lot with him because he's already got two. Just the base model. But I don't have to worry about that just yet. Scooch this chair in. And so where to begin? I think we need to start with green. And it'll be way greenier than I would normally use. Not particularly bright as a green, but it's a way more robust green. All right, see if this brush holds up. This guy's been through a beating and a cleaning. Is he gonna get a tip to him? He might be too afraid to use. I am not as kind as I could be to my brushes. A lot of them have been through a lot. That guy's got a reasonable tip to him. A little bit of saliva. I don't do the whole thing, but after a wash, a little bit of spit, strangely enough, is helpful. All right. Yeah, so those boxes were a release, as far as I know, in Japan years back. And then they recently, this last year, they did a sort of kind of re-release with an extra guide. And everyone wanted them because if you basically bought a box of 8, you were guaranteed-ish one of each. And one of them was a really cool Death Guard sorcerer. A lot of people wanted it, and very few people got it, and it sold out super quick, and it made a lot of people sad. And at the same time, I was like, oh, I saw something online. It was the same box. It was actually the old version, so I got kind of stiffed a little bit. Um, a little sad making. I'll live because some of the models in there are really really cool. I was happy with the four that I got. They're pretty rad. They're the push together models, so there's no glue necessary. But I got the video floating around on here somewhere. I struggled. They don't always push together as easy as the box claims. But apparently they were part of like a big foray into the Japanese market, and so the models are very high quality. They're a little tough to put together at points, but the models themselves are pretty cool. Um, they have a lot of neat details on them, and they're basically trying to get into sort of like the Gundam part of the market. Actually, I probably should just be a little safe as I do this because I do have to go back over with some amount of metallic, so I shouldn't just fill in the entire pauldron like I did on that guy. I'll live. I am going to be going in rotation, so these guys will have a little bit of time to dry. Um, and things like the spikes that come out, the bone spikes, I don't have to worry too much about those because after I rust the guy up, I got to go back and hit those for realsies. That's pretty good. I'll get a bright metallic edge to it. And then each one of these Chaos Lords is going to co-lead one of my Plague Marine squads. And thankfully they updated the points so that you could have 7 Marine squads for an appropriate price, 7 being Nurgle's happy number. But because you can have 2 leaders, I might just go with 5. Count the 2 leaders as 1, 2, buckle my shoe. I don't think the Death Guard and Plague Lords, yeah. Yeah, it's true. Maybe not best buddies, but anyhow, I may have one of this guy, and then like a Tallyman also in a squad, and then one of these guys in my Biologist Putrefier in a squad, and then Typhus gets his own crew of Poxwalkers because he's cool like that. Big old 20 Poxwalker crew, and that'll be pretty much my infantry. Is 3 tiny squads, Plague Marines, 1 knot of Poxwalkers, and that's how I'll learn infantry. And as I've said before, I'm not too worried about winning for quite some time because I got a heck of a lot of learning to do, and learning is fun. A little more paint on this wet palette. Yeah, this guy's gonna be neat. So by going with multiple models, I can do this sort of green run on one of them, set it aside, do it again on another, set it aside, do it again on another, and then hopefully I can hit the lighter colored highlights in a separate pass because this will all have dried. Hopefully, dried enough. And then as I rotate through that, then I can move over to rust. Yeah, this calls for Nurglings. Everything does. I love Nurglings. I'm definitely putting, now that I primed them, I brought some Bugman's Glow out because it's a good base for Nurglings that are in that sort of pinkish color frame. I'm definitely going to put some on my Titan on top of the Geist Strike missiles. Sort of Doctor Strangelove homage. But yeah, it's happy it's Friday. It's a really good week at work, but very tiring. And I'm not made out of the same youthful stuff I used to be. But it's been nice, get out of work, make some dinner, hang with the fam for a bit, put the little kids to bed, go paint. Lather, rinse, repeat. It's been how my week has gone. Little tap of water. I do have to get this store working properly. It's pretty annoying. I got baby onesies to sell. It's funny, like, I don't want any of you guys to buy my crap. Please don't. I mainly did it just to get the functionality to work because part of this grand experiment is to learn how to YouTube. The other thing I did is I was like, I want a mug. I'm going to design a mug, send myself a product sample at a discounted price, and now I have a neat mug. But man, the administrative hoops you got to go through to get that whole thing linked up. Pretty hilarious. But yeah, I'm enjoying myself. This YouTube thing is fun. I'm not saying everyone should do it, but kind of like trying to goad my wife into doing it. She paints, she doesn't paint minis, but she does a bunch of pour painting stuff. It's really cool, like pour, P-O-U-R. I was like, you could just kind of record it and put it on there because she's always watching videos of how other people do it. And the stuff she does is very peaceful to watch. Like, it stresses her out while she's doing it, but like, it's all just like pouring acrylic really thick on canvases and then doing absolutely cool stuff like spinning it around so it spreads out, or like hitting it with like a blow dryer or a fan to like press it out, or hitting it with a torch. Like, how cool is that? She's doing all sorts of really cool stuff with it. I don't know. Maybe I'll get her to start a YouTube channel at some point. It's all very cool stuff to me. All right, a little bit more green on this guy. Kind of avoid some of the metal detailing work. Get a little bit on his hand. I think his gun is going to end up getting, no matter what I do, it's going to get some rust on it from the rust treatment, and then I'll just have to go back and later and hit it with lead belcher and other stuff. All right, green on some of this growth, and make sure I get all of his hand. And obviously, like, a bunch of this is Death Guard green, so I'm not too worried. It's going to get thoroughly covered in grimy rust. But getting that base down, now it's a rich green. Pretty strong green color. This thing, and I'm just going to hit the parts that need it and then come back later for details that don't get greened. I'm going to hit his helmet too. That is important. Don't forget the helmet. I mean, in theory, I could have dry brushed this green. Gotten a little bit of more contrast in it, but not this time. Not this time. I'm going to leave this huge spiky thing alone for now. It's like a demon skull on the back. This model's dope. I say that about every model. I love every model, but I shouldn't say this model's dope. Like, this part is something I especially like. Probably more appropriate. Get all your helmet. There you go, buddy. But getting that face right at the end, I'll probably rust it, clean it off, and then have that bone part of that face just go over it with, I don't know, probably Wraithbone and a couple other colors so it comes out clear and doesn't look rusty. I think that's probably the move. Yeah, there was definitely going to be a painting phase after the rust, for sure. And I'm not too worried about getting this green absolutely perfect in every spot. I care, but it doesn't have to be perfect coverage because this thing is going to get swamped. Absolutely swamped with streaking rust. Probably should have changed the pad on this wet palette before I started, but I'm rolling. I'm good to go. You can't stop me now. There we go. All right, so he's reasonably green. You can set him aside, get in there a little bit. Anything that's going to be a really strong color that isn't getting the rust, I just need to wait on it. Wait till the rust phase is done. I'm going to take my time, sip some tea out of my mug. It's actually a pretty good mug. It's funny because now that I have this store that I haven't sold anything in, I could just design things with like pictures of my kids on it, make mugs, just get them at cost. Earl Grey, you're my savior. So I'm pleased we managed to get these profiles, these builds, all the same for these three Chaos Lords because I didn't want to have to sit around and think about three whole different weapon loadouts, like one for each one. So they each have a plasma pistol. I'm planning on getting into melee pretty quickly if I can. I'm basically going to hide these guys until they can get in a solid melee scrum. They are going to, the squads themselves have, or they call them units here? I don't know. I get confused with work terminology, but yes, the units that they're in, they're going to have a few ranged weapons, but not a ton. Play Belcher, Spewer, one other ranged weapon. I can't remember what it is. Most likely. So they can kind of do Overwatch a bit on infantry, and they can sort of plinkett stuff, but I really need these guys to get in a scrap. And at that point, you still use a pistol when you're scrapping. Yeah, Earl Grey is a famous tea, but Captain Picard is all about that Earl Grey. That was his jam. It's a good tea. It's got bergamot, which is like a fruit in it. It's not a fruity fruit, but like it's got a little bit of sweet kind of leaf to it, leafy taste. I probably didn't get in there enough on the first model. As you can see, like this green is way into greener territory than I normally do for these guys. And I'm speculating that will help a lot when the rust comes in. But I haven't actually tried this, so as per usual, we're just going to test it out and see. Let me take a look at this guy, make sure I didn't miss whole swaths of them. Yeah, I did. Little chunks. There's a whole pile of armor in there that I didn't even touch. Yep. Man, when that rust comes in, it is going to cover everything. I mean, it is an extremely British tea. At least that's our perception in the States. But as far as I know a little bit about tea. It's pretty darn British. I like it. It's good. It's a tea that I can drink very regularly and not get bored of it. I like some more esoteric teas like oolongs and hoji chas and stuff like that, but I can't consistently drink, like I can't just nurse a cup of it all day. Those teas are when I want a very kind of specific flavor for a while. But Earl Grey, I can drink like I used to drink coffee. I haven't actually had a cup of coffee in months. Yeah, chamomile's pretty good. Hey, what's up, Lizard? Did you just get in here? Been lurking. Chamomile's really good. But I don't feel like chamomile is a work tea. It's not the thing that I sip while I'm grinding out making video games or telling people how to make video games. I barely do any of the actual real work. I don't implement anything anymore. I just manage people. Yorkshire tea. You know what? I'm not even sure I remember what Yorkshire tastes like. I know I've had it. I should probably check it out again. I mean, I've basically reconverted myself to a tea drinker by virtue of a massive box of Earl Grey, and I should get some Yorkshire. You get a few different kinds. Get back in the swing of things. But I do love chamomile tea a lot. I find that I like it a lot in the winter. It's like chamomile for me is like comfort tea. Like sit on the porch while it's snowing out. Earl Grey is like tasty business tea. It's getting filled in for the most part. And these guys they're not quite Kermit the Frog green, but that green is pretty orky. It does what it says on the label. Wow, flesh. Good stuff. All right, let's get some green in here, inside the eye. Around here, doesn't have to be perfect. These guys can get covered in the muck in due time. All right, so I've got the back side of this arm, and then I'll give him a spin. Got a little bit of stuff on the backpack, but nothing crazy. But these guys will be fun. I hope everyone out there had at least a somewhat reasonable week. I'm looking forward to this weekend that I might do an amazing number of chores around the house. And Sunday I turned 47. Go me. Good job living another year. So we'll eat a nice dinner in sushi or something like that. Sit down with the fam, and hopefully for a certain amount of time on Sunday I'll paint. Not that I don't get to paint every day of the week, but at least on Sunday it won't be at the cost of being tired. Maybe I can do it earlier in the day, which would be fun. Yeah, thanks. I don't feel a day over 47. I feel good. I am. I'm in mediocre good shape for an old man. I'm not completely falling apart. That's good. There we go, green stuff. Well, not green stuff, but green paint. Nice and greenly painted. I might order myself another Plague Burst crawler. I'm due. I'm gonna run out of stuff to paint. Do have a pile of Plague Marines, but I should order myself something for my birthday. Care number one. This is August. Yeah! Happy birthday, belated. It's a party. Alright, so I think I've gotten just about enough Mondo green on this guy. Give him a quick spin. Around. He's pretty green. He's green on green, so I don't need to be obsessive over it. And finally, this guy. The crazy name Gerg or whatever. I love this model. His face is just wild. Got a big old shout. It's a little tough with the lighting, but I gotta make sure I do justice to his face. Um, he's got a huge shout going on. He's like ready to rock. I did a terrible job of priming this guy. I needed to get underneath here, but whatever. It'll live. We'll just hit it with a few coats. I set an alarm this morning to get up, go outside, and prime. It's an obsession. It's not an obsession. It was good. Literally right when I was done priming. Not when I was done priming, but I give him like 15 minutes to sit outside and not be too fumy. I got little kids running around the house. A few minutes after I brought them in the house, it started pouring. Thank God I got out there. I was not in the mood to build tonight. Even this morning, I was like, "Oh God, I hope I get to paint. I don't want to just be sitting here gluing. Not that I don't like gluing. I just wasn't in the mood to do it." There we go. You're gonna be so gross. Love you guys. My gross army. Footy. Here. I think it's Gerg the Fowl, if I remember correct. That's his name. A great name. Should have named my second daughter Gerg the Fowl. And one of the things that I like about when my birthday is it's right. I live in New England. It's right around when the weather changes, starts getting a little cooler out. You start thinking about Halloween. You know, that's the end of the month. Love Halloween. Absolutely love Halloween. So I've got to get into the garage, get out all the Halloween stuff for the yard after this weekend. Do some decorating, spooky decorating. Break out my fog machines. I like two tiny little ones. Yeah, I love Halloween. It's awesome. And it's super cool with little kids because it's just magical for them. Last year, when I guess she was 1.5 years old last year, got her little Pikachu outfit. We're going around trick or treating, mostly in a carriage. Um, but someone was in a full Pikachu outfit, and my daughter was just like, "It's Pikachu!" So tiny little daughter Pikachu, person with a huge head Pikachu costume. It was glorious. Proper, proper Pokemon education for my child. I mean, sometimes you gotta just celebrate the holiday on your own, buy a bunch of candy, go out, give a bunch out, wear a costume, take one for the team. Yeah, Halloween really does need to like translate to the whole world. All my friends that I know that are in countries that don't really celebrate it, they're just like, can't we do it? It's just pure fun. Like, and it's candy and it's costumes. You really can't go wrong. It's also my wife's birthday, which is awesome. We're both big fans of Halloween. It never gets old. I've always enjoyed it. In the years leading up to me sort of ending up in family expansion mode, back when I was a freewheeling bachelor, um, I'd still get dressed up, buy like full size candies for kids, just sit by the front door in a crazy vampire costume, handing out candy, making someone's day. Get in there a bit, get under here a bit. It very much feels like I'm just priming this, which I guess technically I really am. Just getting the color in that's going to creep out when I rush this guy. Oh, there's a huge spot that I missed. I missed your butt. Yeah. Can't tell if that's cloth. No, it's not. It's like a metal diaper. Whatever that means. Alright. That's going to get metal. This can get some green. Once again, things like that skull, I'll hit them again after the muckening. I think we're pretty close. I say that a lot and then I'm not close, but I feel like we're inching our way towards doing some metallics. Bam, another huge spot. Yeah, you give out the full-size candy once you've established yourself, because it lets the children know the house that they don't want to egg or disappoint in any way, because then maybe next year you won't be giving out full-size candy. It's all about being a part of the community, creating an understanding. Supply and demand. And kids go nuts. You hand them a full-size candy bar instead of one of those tiny ones. It's like, yeah, you just bought yourself a warrior. That kid will come back and save your life in 10 years. All for the price of a little bit of candy. Yeah. Yeah, that has been a challenge in the past. Like I've I only bought the house that I live in a few years ago. Finally could afford to buy a house. Um, which I never take for granted because I really don't like renting from other people. Um, but most of the places I lived when I rented were like freestanding residential houses, even if they were like duplex or trios. So it was always in kind of like a neighborhood, not in like an apartment building. Um, but depending on where you live out here, like if you live in a huge apartment building, everyone just trick or treats inside there. It's kind of neat. All right, so weapon I don't need to worry about. Chains, I think I need to move over to my metallics. Set this guy aside, go back to my first dude. And the weapons I don't need to hit. I just don't. All that'll come after. That'll probably be after tonight. And I'm using Runefang Steel, which is super bright. It is not lead belcher. It is super shiny. It's like good guy silver. Because I'm having faith that the rust grime will take it down a notch. And then if I'm super careful, I'm not going to like soak the Q-tips like I did last time and just go for like an amazing amount of mega streaking. I'm going to be gentle. I might actually use a towel. I'll probably still use Q-tips, but you know what? I said I was going to mix this. I think I said I was going to mix it. I think I said I was going to use Retributor armor. Well, let's try an experiment. Try an experiment. Because that's what we do here. Take a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B. I want to make sure it's shiny enough. And Retributor armor is bright stuff too. It's brighter than practically anything I use. Take a stick, and a stick, and a stick. And we will glop some amount of Runefang Steel very haphazardly in there. And we'll glop some Retributor armor. Get in there, get a nice stir. Glop, 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 glop. Science portion of this. Set that thing aside because you can only use them once. And some Averland Sunset to bring out the yellow in all this. And we will see what happens when I mix these three. You're not going to come off the end of that, are you? You're nice and thick. Here we go. Glop, glop. Close this safely now. And we'll do some mixing in here. It's shiny, but it's got more yellow in it. Yeah, it's actually not too bad. I dig that. Got a little bit of sheen to it. Probably could use a little bit more Runefang Steel. I have another piece of stick. And if I say that out loud, it means I probably mean it. Yeah, there we go. Realize I'm not making this particularly easy for everyone to see, but yeah, there we go. A heavy amount of that silver glop in there. Yeah, it's not shiny, more yellowy. Stir. All right, well, we mixed some metallics. I can use that all over the place. This eye. I should thin it. I should thin your paints, homie. Scooch that a little bit. Give myself some space to breathe. All right, that's a little bit thinned out. It's definitely got a sheen to it. Yeah, there we go. Shiny but not silvery. What we are going for. Yeah, that'll work. My hope is that this is, it's not terribly bright, but it's bright enough. You can never see on this monitor how it looks for you guys. This light's reflecting in it like crazy. I try, but all I can see is sort of shadowed shapes. Anyway, I'm hoping it's bright enough to offset the green and sort of stand out. I think if I had used warp lock bronze on this stuff when I got to the grimining, it would just be washed out. There'd be no color to it. Yeah, this is nice. It's like a yellow gold. Yeah, I dig it. And I'm just going to use this pretty indiscriminately on any parts that are metal, including tubes. Tubes and tubes and tubes. Of course, speaking of Halloween candy, again, get to collect a pretty hefty dad tax. So my 12-year-old out to actually acquire supplies via trick-or-treating, and then she gets back. I don't take whatever I want, but I do exact a pretty hefty tax on my child. It's too much candy for one child to have. Too much power. Glad I had to be out of there. My downstairs neighbor had to go at me every time I made the place more homely. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it's honestly the main reason I was like just desperate to be able to buy a house. It was like I just didn't want people right next to me anymore. And I've had amazing neighbors, but you kind of don't know. Whichever place you end up living in, it's like a crapshoot. Like I've lived next to really awesome neighbors and then had them move out, and someone move into their place and have the entire like not just vibe, like the entire livability situation change. Feels like you don't have any like control over your fate in that situation. You're just kind of stuck. Get the inside of these pauldron edges. Get the undersides of them because I always forget those things to the bitter end. I mean, I always complain about how it looks like a 12-year-old painted this stuff before I get to washes, but this, I'm going fast enough where it genuinely is. It better, a lot of this better get repaired by that glop I'm going to throw on this or I'm going to be in trouble. Not my finest work. It's Tired Friday, man. It's not bad. It's definitely not bad. I don't want to like give that impression, but I'm absolutely gambling on covering this thing in rusty grime. Should I just make this guy's helmet shiny? I'll just do the little. I forgot the name of the helmet already. It's awesome. It's like a German name, wasn't it? I'll do the top of it, that top spike. That thing's cool. Tubes, 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 tubes. Any pipes, we'll hit those. And did we, does this guy have vastly less metallics on him? No, he's just got the pauldrons are there. I did cover up his eye a little bit on this, which is fine. Nurgle disciple, he doesn't need that eye. Alrighty, moving right along. Thin this out a little bit, not too much. Fun, fun, fun. I am already getting excited to put some of this glop on here. Some of this streaking rust. Get this pauldron, and then we are pretty much in business. I suppose I could choose to do more detail, but that would take me out of the streaking grime zone. I'm all about it. All right, so just being careful in the home stretch. My left shoulder is falling asleep, so after I get this pauldron done inside and out, stretch my arm a little bit, take decent care of myself. Accidentally get metallics where I don't want them on the guy's wrist. It is funny how painting can actually fatigue you. Yeah, I've had some neighbors that were just like that entirely too. I had one guy that lived below me when I was in college. Actually, I was living with three friends, and if like any noise happened, like we were running a vacuum cleaner, this guy below us was just like bang on the ceiling with a broom. It's like, come on, dude, I need to vacuum my house. Like, it's not a party. It wasn't like we were doing it like 6 in the morning either. It's just like any interruption whatsoever, and we didn't exactly have this guy's schedule either. Anything we did was a problem to this dude. All right, so get the edging done on this guy, and I'm going to leave that cup of paint there because I know I'm going to need to go back and use it on some other things. I get the edging done on this guy. I should only have to go back and I think hit a couple spots with white, and that should be it. Spots with white would be like these skulls, a couple other little tiny places, but mainly the green and gold should handle things on their own. There we go. I like these models. I like these models a lot. Make sure I'm not missing anything. Nope, I'm not missing nothing. There's a couple little spots on those guys I could hit, but this guy has a much more pronounced. It's not the gorget. I guess maybe it is the gorget. Maybe the thing the gorget snaps onto, and then there's like collar back here, so I gotta get those. Get the insides of these spots, and I'll probably just blab for a minute while these guys get a couple seconds longer to dry. Getting in there. A little bit on this backpack that I can hit. A little wingadoozy. There we go. Gently. A couple little pipes. Pipes and tubes. Gewgaws and doodads. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool backpack you got. So let that guy sit. Wash this brush a little bit. I'm pretty sure I'm not even going to dry brush those skulls. I think I'm just going to very lightly and loosely paint them. And I'm going to hit them with rack white instead of wraithbone. No, I'm not. Rack white is a dry brushing thing. I'll hit them with wraithbone, that's fine. Shake it up a bit. Sneak back onto this dude. Just a dab will do you. Doesn't need a lot. Doesn't even need to be thick. Just want to make sure that these skulls don't get completely lost and that they have a little bit of time for this paint to just soak in. They're basically going to get the wash of their lives. I almost knocked these sticks into my lap, which would have been bad. All the sticks that I used to pull paint out of those pots. A very precarious moment off camera right there, right? That's why my eyes popped up. I was like, As soon as I put this brush down, I will handle that. You know what I didn't do? It's a good thing that I paid attention there. What I didn't do, I'll chuck those things. I will stretch a bit. Chuck these sticks. Yeah, these paint sticks. Almost wore them. There's still chains on these, and I'm going to hit chains with those colors exactly. I had a feeling I was forgetting something. Making sure these guys don't have anything too crazy on them that needs white. Now I'll just pop in, hit the chains, and let these guys dry a little bit. We might not have any chains. We might not have any chains. Okay, I think these guys might be chain free. They look it. All right. It's my boy Gerg. Rocking the chains. That'll look cool, Rusty. I'll put some more dots on here. Who doesn't like dots? All right. Yeah, big. Well, yeah, you could always just dip it in the wrong color. Ooh, end of the week. Yoink. All this chain nice and golded up. There we go. Get underneath. Make sure there's no additional bits. I will hit this bell. As we're keeping track here, because I could definitely rust over that thing and have it look cool. And if this stuff looks too bright when I take the grime off, I'll just keep painting. That will be that. Get a little bit of detail on here. These strappish things can always get a little touch of metallic on them, or you can totally go overboard like that and miss. I'm good at that too. I think I got these guys in the back already. Yeah, I did. All right, so now we do our exercise in patience. Need a different brush. Sip some tea. That's my jam. Give this a minute or two. I can't tell if this stuff is ever shaken enough. guy was the first. I need a better light. I need a more wide encompassing light. I have like a pile of, like this one faces that way, but I got 1, 2, 3. I got another one the cable doesn't get to, so I ordered a bigger one so I could just see what I'm doing better. Maybe I just need sleep. How about that? Yep, that's right. I use my finger to test if paint is dry. Because you find out real quick when it's not. Man, I would love to turn into Picard. I would love to. He's a pretty rad dude. I do love me some Star Trek. All right, let's commence with the rusting. Is this a suitable brush to rust with? It's a nice brush. Maybe I'll find one of my green brushes that I put through hell. Yes. All right, streaking rust. You know what? I still haven't seen any of the actual Picard series. That's how bad a human being I am. I love me some Jean-Luc Picard. I haven't seen the guy's own show. All right, let's do this. The battle cry feels better. Okay, just gonna let the fear flow through me. Now, I am being careful not to get it all over the place. I don't want to get it. If I do, I can always wipe it off like crazy. But it doesn't go on the cloak. It's not a rusty cloak. If you want to paint a rusty cloak, you go for it. But I do need to get it on everything that's golden green. Yeah. Yeah, this stuff is so neat. Guess what? Your model's brown. Have a nice day. You did it. Get you in there nice and thick. Yep, all those little spots. And once again, I'll do that demonic face like proper. No rust. Oh, streaking crime, how happy I am to have found you. I'm also very pleased that I ended up using this spear because it's like a throwback to the very first model I ever did. Got some serious sentimental value there. The thing that got all this started. It's funny because the test model they give you turns out, I don't know, I mean, y'all folks have been doing this longer than I have. Me only being around for a few months. If you go in, you say like I'm brand new. Like yeah, they give you some test sprues just to get you started. They also give you this magazine thing. and it's pretty cool. It's got these like activities you do, and you get stamps in it, and then you get stuff for it. I do have to go back into that store with that thing all stamped up. It feels like kids' homework, but like some of the stuff's kind of neat. Like there's a few little knickknacks in there. You know, some places to save your ability cards. Like it's nothing crazy, but I think there's like a couple practice brushes you get for free and little neat stuff like that that I think is just cool. Interesting way to sort of get somebody motivated to give it a try and then come back in the store. And obviously, their end goal is for you to just be converted as a lifer. But like, I mean, I make games that sell to people. I've made my piece. Like, I don't have any problem with games making money. Um, and I don't have a problem with people 3D printing stuff because it's a lot of money that gets charged. But having that sort of arc of things to do when you're just getting started, it felt pretty good. All right, that guy is grimy. Get a little more on that knee. Once again, I'm in that I hope this works mode. But I have a lot of faith now that I've done this a bit more. It's grime time. Yeah, I've been pretty lucky. I've only really gotten spare parts that I've needed. I got some shoulder hinge pieces for my Tyrant, so I could properly swap things out. I do have to find someone who sells aftermarket Nurglings. I want to make some. I have a 3D printer and I haven't gotten the thing calibrated yet. But I just wanted I would just make piles and piles of those little guys. Just 3D model them out. And then every one of my models would just be like the actual character that's supposed to be on it and like 6 Nurglings just piled on. All right, Rusty McGee. Let's get some more in here. Yeah. How do I aim at this? There we go. That's pretty good. Getting all up in there. Really? I would really appreciate that. I have a Saturn II, and I've still never gotten it to properly even get the test model. It's like a chess rook. I haven't gotten that to print. And I have a sinking feeling it's because the table that I've got it on in the garage isn't settled right. I know I probably just need to try to recalibrate it like 30 times, but to like get it right. But yeah, like I've even considered like maybe I should just start an Etsy store and just print out Nurglings like to the end of time and just sell them at like a super reasonable price because you can never have enough of them. Like they're awesome basing material. Um, but even just for myself, like man, I don't remember what it costs because I didn't really care. But like that Nurgling box, like it comes with like a decent number that you can clip out, but like on my printer, it would be like a block this big, just as a shallow print. If I didn't even layer it, it would just be like, zzz, You probably have probably like 50 per just flat print cycle. And those things are not difficult to model. Like they're just a little bit of extrusion. They're so rubbery and little. Like you can get away with a lot. I mean, you just start with a sphere, oblong a little bit, plop another sphere on it like it's a snowman, oblong that a little bit, pull the horns out, go feet out. All you gotta do is be mediocre with faces, which I'm not, but they're demons anyway, so if they look like the more screwed up they look, the cuter they are. Easy peasy. Oh, green brush, you are doing the Lord's work. Right, am I all up in there? I look like I'm all up in there. All right, Gerg the Fowl. But yeah, I've never, this is the first 3D printer I've gotten, and going directly into a resin printer was like, I knew I was going off the deep end, but it was like a really good deal. It was like super on sale. I think it was right before, I think there's a new Saturn version or something like that. It was right before it came out. So they had just this huge discount weekend, and I grabbed it. I think it was like 40 or 50% off. Good job, Mug. Gloppy, gloppy, gloppy. Oh, stretch out a little bit. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, actually, send me the STLs anyway, though. Um, I'm not great with 3D modeling, but like I had to take it in school, and I've messed around with it a bit. Um, I can pull them apart a little bit. Anyway, the gloppening continues. Gerg the Fowl. Try to miss that skull. Excuse me, as much as I can. I mean, the other thing is, I also just need to spend some time internet researching. I'm still sitting on this one battle, also for UEBS. It's just been a pain to balance the thing the right way. I'm trying to do like kind of like a rescue mission. I got this one guy, one absolutely like souped up version of Blood Raven that I just like statted out and made him just like machine gun version of Bolter Fire. I want him to bust out and like come across the map and save some other guys, and getting the timing right is just hard. You got to just let the thing go for a half hour and then find out that you're off a little bit, do some rebalance, let it go for a half hour. I just need some time in front of my computer to look stuff up like STLs, get that battle done. Sweet. Um, just computer research time, computer work time. But it's all good because I don't really have a schedule around. I mean, I guess I do have a schedule around painting now, which has been fun. I'm getting so much painting done. I do it this way. Cranking through this thing. I'm just rambling, but I do have administrative stuff to do. I should go back. There's all kinds of administrative stuff for YouTube videos that's like never ending. Like go back, change some thumbnails around so they're actually reasonably coherent. Like most of these live stream ones, I've taken pictures of the models at various phases through it, and I should just update the thumbnails so like you see what's worked on each time, because people do go back and watch these. Not a million people, but there's a decent number of folks that watch these streams after the fact. like more useful if, I don't know, like titled them right and re-thumbnailed them so that people could find them and listen to me ramble while I paint stuff. But work should get a little easier in the coming weeks in terms of intensity of time. We've been doing a lot of planning stuff. It's like the whole team's involved. It's like all hands on deck. My job should get a little bit more back to normal soon. Just curious to see what you posted. I just don't want to put this guy down until I'm done with the gallopening. I gotta rewire this whole video setup. I think I can figure out how to do it so that I can have an additional screen running. I have OBS running over here. What I want to do is be able to actually just like, when we're dropping stuff to each other on Discord, just have that in front of me, be able to bring it up on the stream and actually show stuff that's in there. That's not a lot of work. I make it sound like I have a lot of stuff I have to do. I don't. I just have to get off my button, hop to it. But right now, it is all about painting momentum. I can taste, hopefully not this army. I can taste this army almost being done. I'm sure this army tastes disgusting. But for lack of a better term, I'm zeroing in on having a full army, and I want to crush it. Really want to get it done, so that I can procrastinate about like, when am I going to go to a store do a pickup game? But I'll do it. All right. So this guy looks gloppy. I don't know if you can hear that behind me, but a cat is assaulting my door. It's hilarious. Probably not. This mic is set to cardioid, but cats are out and about. All right, brush relatively clean, but you're a green brush, so I don't care too much. Close the rust so I don't dump it all over my desk, because that would be fun. Take a peek over here. Yeah. That is cool looking. I think it's cooler looking than what's on here. Well, this one's cool too. But that's absolutely fine because they can both be cool. Like this one's neat. The sprue, it's 2 sprues, and it's a mix. You got some of these mega pile things going on, but then you got some little duos and individuals sort of lurking, so you've got a little bit of variance with it, but not a ton. And you know they definitely did this on purpose. Like you can't clip these guys out of here in any sane way. Yeah, it's just so much fun. They bring all this levity. He's this huge cornerstone of like Nurgle worship. There's all this extra levity in, you know, the god of death and rebirth. Once you resign yourself to, you got nothing to fear, you feel no pain, literally, everybody's having a giggly good time. I actually really like the Nurglings in that battle simulator game. They do a little, because I think they're from Dawn of War, I'm guessing. It's where the models are originally, but they have a bunch of just super fun animations going. I am stalling a little bit just to give this Rusty Grime stuff a little bit of time to get its job done. Just scrolling up. Is that a contemptor? Is that what that is? Because that thing looks crazy. that is an amazing, amazing, amazing model. It has like all the proper Nurgly Death Guardy components on it, but it is so detailed. It's spiky. It's got the three circles, three arrows thing. It's got a huge maw. So good. So good. I don't know why. So good. I don't think I have to shake this stuff. All right. I can't even tell what, like, it looks like he's got a circular saw in one hand, like a claw with a circular saw in it. And is that like a combi plasma thing in his other arm? That is wild. Absolutely wild. Pardon my yawn. Volkite Supremacy. Is that the name of the weapon? Time to do some internet. Volkite. Possessing a killing power surpassing most armaments of their size, Volkites were little understood and difficult to replicate even in the most capable Mechanicus Forge worlds. Interesting. Interesting. Ah, so the precursor to the bolter because the bolter was easier to manufacture. Interesting. What do they actually do? Good. Deflagrate? What does that even mean? Oh yeah, there's just burn away human flesh. That sounds awesome. It's a cool looking weapon. Like the actual like silhouette profile with it being all boxy. I feel like I interesting. Yeah, they're on like a lot of really cool stuff that I'm very unfamiliar with. I think that's where I might have seen it. Yeah, Chaos Knight Abominant has one. When I was picking up my Tyrant, I think I looked at the yeah, like heat ray. What a way to go. Just get scorched. I think when I was looking into this guy, I thought about getting the Abominant. I think the Abominant's the one with the crazy, the, like tentacle, metal tentacle whip thing too. That's got to be a rough way to go. Rough way to go. Cool, cool stuff. Speaking of Titans, I'm at the point in the first Magnus book where they wake up the, I'm guessing they're Drakari, Eldari Titans on that first world that they're at. There's a picture of them, like, oof, those things look gnarly. All right, dab with the finger, dab with the finger. It's still pretty wet. Maybe I'll get a fan at some point. It's just a couple more minutes. I don't want it to be dry, but I don't want it to be super wet because I'm not doing the drenching it method. Just gonna tap it a little bit. Wonder how big an army I actually have right now. I might be precariously close with these three guys because Chaos Lords are not cheap. Like, gotta be like 60 or 80. Not a lot of points. let me just sample see. That is way too wet. Yeah, it's gonna have to dry more. Is it? Is it? I mean, it's essentially going to make my baseline. It doesn't have to be perfect. All this stuff's still going to end up with like a dry brush and a wash. The main thing is I just want the recessed parts to stay that way. In a lot of cases, it's just like, yeah, like bringing up the edges. It's probably too soon to be pulling this stuff off, but my childish lack of patience is an important factor in every project. That's got a good weathered look to it. I like that. And I know that I've still got a metal pass to do on a lot of this silver stuff. It's a decent opening salvo. Good times. Just dabbing it a little bit here and there. Just taking it a step back from the craziness that it's got right now. And just peeking into certain spots. Make sure that I'm bringing some texture up. Go through more Q-tips this way. It's not bad. I'm not sure that it's that great. I'm not sure this was the best application of this or whether or not I was about to grab some water and said that would have been dumb. Maybe just going too soon. If the thing is where it looks good, it looks really good. It's just inconsistent how I've done it. I like it where I like it. This is weird. I'm starting to get into like needing some understanding of technique with this, but spots where it looks good, it looks good. The spots where I don't even know how to describe it. Maybe it needs a darker grime. It's the only thing better than grime. More grime. That's right. More grime. Like, even understanding that this is kind of just a baseline to get things going, got some reservations about it. I don't want to dunk the thing, but I don't know that the rust was truly dark enough. Like around the bolts and stuff, really solid. And I know that the main pieces of metal are going to get more in time. Going to get more stuff. I really can't tell if this effect is enough to really sell things. Weird. All right. I may need to experiment further on this guy. So, taking a look at him, and respecting the fact that he's still going to get a bunch of color, and even on the spots that are like darkened down, flatness to it that I'm not so sure about. There is metal trim I could have hit to make things pop a little bit more. So in some spots, it looks pretty solid. The pauldrons are a very shining case of like, hey, that looks pretty cool. Like that pauldron's nice and weathered. This one's pretty good. Where it's mainly green, I just may not have done enough to make the effect pop off really nicely. Let's see what else I got. See if I got any other tricks. Close this allegedly odorless stuff for now. Be right back. Streaking grime. Dark. Streaking grime. Streaking crimes. Alright. Well, I have dark streaking grime. Look under my other little spot here and make sure that there's nothing still in this container. Oh! There is. And I haven't fully wielded my arsenal. So, I have dark streaking grime and winter streaking grime. Can I tell the difference? Not a whole heck of a lot. Not really. Is this coming out of the bottle? Appears so. Get a paper towel. Actually, let me open and reclose this guy. Oh yeah, you are coming up. Do some cleaning. There we go. Well, I have more streaking grimes than I thought I had. Forgot that I had actually bought a kit. Kit being just 3 bottles. Yeah, I see why you're leaking. There we go. Just give you a little wipe down for the future. So that is dark. Dark. This stuff. Give it a shake first. I don't think this stuff is light per se, but lighter than regular streaking grime. Yeah, Dane. You know what's up. Oh yeah, that's a gorgeous color. That's a beautiful color. Now I gotta see what it looks like. Grime on grime, crime. Oh man, yeah, that's pretty awesome. Ooh, put some on your helmet. See, I'm scared of it too. That's why I'm doing it. I'm just gonna dab this in spots. I'm not gonna like fully coat the thing. But this will, for lack of a better term, this will paint me into a corner, which I like. This dark streaking grime is, oh, that is much more Death Guardy. I think doing it in a sort of motley pattern. I mean, obviously it's just going wherever it wants, but this may get me closer to where I want to be. This may only need like Nuln Oil afterwards to bring out some texture. That is, yeah, I like that. A Tyrant may get some of this. This dark stuff is beautiful. Yes, we'll make a full convert out of Dane. I'll drink enough Earl Grey where I turn into Picard, and eventually Dane will be so exposed to this grime business, we'll be covered in it. Never. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. I love this stuff. I am guessing though that like what a lot of this is going to need after this is dry brush and a wash, or a wash and a dry brush. I think what the streaking grime is going to do in the end is like 80% of the work. And maybe I just did too little. Maybe I just overgreened it and should have put more stuff underneath it. Yeah, it's possible. We'll see. I think this dark grime is going to behave a little bit better than the rust did. If I was going to take it all back, I would have started with this. And I know there's more details that I plan to paint in. But I got to say right out of the pot, this stuff looks rad. my brown Marines, my brown lords. I mean, I could just try to grind this guy up right now. Nah, I don't think I will. He looks too good. I already washed the daylights out of him and made him a little bit darker. I don't think he's getting grime. All right, well, that's some more grime. The other thing I should probably try to do, maybe, I think they're too small. I mean, I've seen people use a towel to just sort of like gently rub across the thing. I think I can get most of that done with a Q-tip, but the Q-tip like falls apart pretty dramatically. Oh, I missed the spot. You missed the spot, buddy. You ain't done. That guy's safe for now. Oh, this is winter. Yeah. There we go. Now it's covered. Now it's sloppy. Using multiple grimes. There we go. Sneak over here. All right, so we've regrimed these guys. When I take the grime down, I'm guessing a dry brush will be very, very helpful. Something opposing that green to dirt to rust spectrum. And if I go super light, I think white will still be a little much. Could go Xandri dust because that would oppose it pretty nicely. Could go Death World Forest if I wanted to go greener than tan. I don't think you can really dry brush with Nurgle's Rot. I need a fan. Decisions. I'm keeping some of that gold stuff because I'll definitely hit like some little bits of edges and raise things that I don't want to be too rusty that are naturally going to get sort of stuck that way. It's curious. Yeah, it might come together. Give it a little bit of a dash of a wipe. I don't have to wipe all too much. It's really just like the very much raised spots and the shiny bits. The question is, do I dry brush, then wash, or wash and then dry brush? And I think I would want to put Nuln Oil or Agrax in there first, right? Seems logical. I suppose it depends on how light of a thing that I dry brush with. Decisions, decisions, decisions. Check this over here real quick. Check my content out. Check my analytics. Oh. Yeah. Made 68 cents yesterday. I think I still get taxed on that, like probably 30%, but we'll just leave that aside. Okay. You drying out, buddy? Wash first, yeah. Um, yeah, little by little. Dude, there's no way. I'll say that right now. My numbers are still going up, but they're like nice and like sane, manageable right now. There's no way I'm getting to 40,000 anytime soon. It's not linear. Um, and 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 I'm not really trying to get to 40,000. I don't even know what I would do if there was like 100 people watching me paint. I think I'd be terrified. I still do it, but like most of the lift that I got was from battle simulator stuff, and like that niche is sort of like working its way through. There's enough people doing it right now that I think I just kind of got in there at a really good time. Um, and there are other cats that do it that like it definitely seems like it's their job. Like the speed at which they're throwing videos out and the quality of them is like pretty high. So I think I just slipped into a neat spot. Um, but we'll see. You never know what happens. Um, but now, like my numbers continue to go up. They just go up sanely. Oh snap! That guy is looking good. If I hit open in browser, I can go bigger. Yeah, that guy looks really cool. I love that helmet. It's like got the natural like serious eyebrow visor looking thing. Like the fact that the eyelets look like that. They're like serious business. And the skull and like the laurel wreath built into the helmet, and obviously the comb on top is really cool. That guy looks dope. I like him. The Halo part I never fully like understood. Seems amazingly impractical, though I realize I'm putting my shoe in my mouth by saying like anything in Warhammer's got to be practical because it doesn't at all, and I'm glad it isn't. Um, the Halo thing's always weird to me. Like the Emperor's got some armor suits that have it. Gilliman's got a huge one. Gilliman's like, I don't believe in gods. We put this Halo on my head, but it does look cool. It certainly does look cool. All right, my impatience is taking over. We're gonna streak some of this grime off of here. See where things go. So is it common with like non-chaos loyalist, we'll say, is it super common for loyalist space marine groups where like you put a unit together and then they all get a captain, or is it like captains and lieutenants? Because I don't know how the regular ranks work with the sane folks. Like, is it super? Because I mean, the books, it's like they're very clear. It's like always a sort of officers and all the other guys that get totally murdered kind of mix. Obviously, like all those chapters get named guys in Halos. Ah, yes. Ye old invulnerable save. Stuff is so cool. Man, can you imagine if you invented this and then tried it out the first time? And were like, this thing I made. It's grimy as all heck. People using this stuff on regular old mundane tanks. Yeah, that works. I think the real key to this is like how asymmetrical it is. Take something that looks really, really flat, and it's not, to be honest, it's not even really adding as much depth as a wash would. It becomes naturally a little bit motley. I mean, that guy looks like Dirt McGirt. You guys ready? You can take down like the front of the helmet a little bit, and you get like a gradient. That's the thing is you get a gradient off of it by doing it. The truly wild thing is like if I go hard enough, I think I can get all the way down to the primer again, which gives a natural highlight. That part's insane. I give this a good rubbing. I don't want to do that a lot, but it does work. It does work. I've actually thought about, obviously, I want to paint everything. I've thought a little bit about Astra Militarum. There's some stuff in there that I like, but I just don't think they're high enough on the list that I would get to them anytime soon. I have thought about buying a bunch of Astra Militarum heads. They have like those not bonus because you're paying for them, but those packs of like, I think they just had a Space Wolves one come out where it's just like, it's a sprue of different heads. I was like, yeah, I'll just use those. And yeah, Kriegsmen are cool. Man, like, even in Battle Simulator, they're just like so neat. I love their lore. They're just like basically had their revolt. They're like, as penance for our revolt, we're just going to be the most like bad, crazy, go anywhere, suffer anything, gas mask 24/7 crew. That's how you make it up to the Emperor. Yes, too angry to die. They are fun. Scrapey, scrapey, squashy, squashy. Oh, this stuff is glorious. You having a nice day, Grime? Good. Me too. All right. So this is coming along. I think adding that additional layer of that slightly different colored grime has helped. It's especially nice. Yeah, Deathcore Krieg. Just willing to just suck it up. But yeah, apparently they revolted, and then I think did they like nuke themselves? Basically, the loyalists on the planet felt terrible that their planet went against the Emperor, and they had this like long pitched battle to get recompliant, which I think they nuked their own planet as part of the process. She's just like, okay, you are serious. Serious business. Oh, this Q-tip is destroyed. Bring up your medals. All right. I think I'm good. I do have to keep in mind that there are plenty of things like tentacles that are still going to stick out. Yeah, the whole aesthetic of the Deathcore Krieg is really good. They love trenches. They love all that stuff. Pretty awesome. All right, I'm gonna get myself some wash, and I will just keep on rolling. Yeah, it's true. It's just like it just means war. In the grim dark future, there is only Krieg. All right, a few drops of black wash. My impatience will carry me through. I need to start getting some texture in this thing. So I'm just going to enforce it. Just little dabs here and there will make me feel better. And that's what it's all about. It's me feeling better. Black might be a little excessive. Sure looks a little excessive. Maybe I need to thin it a little bit. I do thin my washes sometimes. Just little dabs here and there on edges. It sticks. Yeah, I think the neutral mineral spirits are not a good place for washes to try to stick to. I think I have to let this thing dry. Yeah, they're pretty excessive. They don't do things in half measures. All right, I don't think it's bad, but the wash sticks differently. Definitely differently. Just poke some in here. Just some tiny little taps of wash. Do, do, do. Get some nice contrast on your shoes, buddy. It's all about the shoes. You can get a little on your face. There you go. You're gonna get some gross colors on you eventually, Sonny. That's how it has to be. This brush is suffering right now. Brush is not happy. Seen better days. Not a ton of wash, just picking and choosing some edges. It makes sense. It's already super dark. It is defiantly dark. These guys, no problem fitting the grim dark elements at all. These guys are all about it. Around your boot and around this little. I should really just look up what all the pieces of armor are called. I know a few of them, then every once in a while I get sort of stuck. The Gorget, the Pauldron, the Thigh thingy, Thigh Master. Let's get some of you in there. Pretty dark wash. I mean, these guys are definitely going to stand out and look different than the rest of my army, which is the plan. That part's definitely good. There we go. Some around these bolts. Are they mostly Forge World? Yeah. I'm only just acclimating to the whole Forge World thing, and that was only because I started looking up Titans. I'd heard people talk about it, about how the models are kind of a pain to build and work with, and obviously like horrifically expensive. Like I was looking through that website, and like the Titans are like, hey, this is like $1,200 or $1,600, and the weapons and head and several other pieces are grayed out because they don't even come with the kit. Like, it doesn't come with base weapons, and then you buy additional ones. It's like, here's the body. You get no weapons for it now. Such a flex. They're like such a flex. Those things are egregious. And you look up points cost for them, and it's just like they don't. You can't. I think there's. I think there's an Armiger or like Warhound one that you can field. I think there's like one Titan. It's like a small Titan that comes in at like 1,800 or 1,900 points. But beyond that, you're playing whatever the 3,000 point game is to get one on the table, and some of them still don't fit. I think it's crazy. I love it. Criminal excess. A little bit more in here. Okay. Now these guys are at the point where they absolutely have to dry. But it's Friday, so I'm not peacing out. I'm going to do the pro move right now. Say, do I have a 5-minute warning? That's not real bad. I don't think. Do. Pick a good color for this. Yeah, you'll do. Scooch this out so you can read it. I'm going to step away from the helm for 5 minutes, but I have painted you a wonderful sign indicating that I will be back. I'm going to take a quick little drying break. I'm not going to kill the stream, but I'm going to step out for a minute, so I will be back. All right, I'll keep my bloody sign. Just hide it up there for future use. There's a bunch of stuff on the back. Anyhow, you guys have had a little bit of time to dry. Not a whole heck of a lot. Let's see. Actually, I'll use a Q-tip. See if anything's coming off. Nope. The rust does have a particular sort of sheen to it. So do gotta be a little careful. A little bit of rust is there. I wonder. One of the things I am considering is using a contrast paint on the cape. I know I said I was going to hit it with Blood for the Blood God, but I could use Blood for the Blood God to sort of put highlights. This is the largest cape I've ever dealt with, and most of them that I have, it's almost like a loincloth. But this one actually has enough raised and lowered spots in it that as I go around and dry brush, I might just hit these things too. Hit this weird fur and hit this cloak. Flesh cape. Oh, jeez, buddy. Let me see what I got. Let me see what I got. Let me see. Ooh. Around. All right. I like how you think. I like how you think. I got Gilliman flesh. So I'm thinking what I'll do is I'll dry brush with Xandri dust, which will be lighter and have some amount of color contrast with what's already in there. And then hit them with Gilliman flesh on the flesh part. Then I need something contrast paint wise for this first stuff. Flesh cape. That is a brilliant idea. You literally like, I owe you like a consultant's fee. Flesh cape. Like how you think. Do I have a contrast paint that works for the fur? That I might not have. I will check. Yeah, it's just, flesh cape sounds. It has a little bit of Slanesh in it, but yeah, lizard. I think it's a good call, and I think it'll actually be a pretty cool color. Let me see what I can do about the fur. Contrast. I got purple. Purple's no good. Horde. Contrast paints. We don't have a lot of these. Technical. Shade. So for the fur, got Skeleton Horde. there's a little bit of heresy involved in this stream on a regular basis. Skeleton Horde would make it sort of like a tannish, brownish thing. I've got Militarum Green. I don't know if that's going to cut it. I'm not going to do Plague Bearer Flesh. Can I just mix regular acrylic paint with contrast medium and just turn it into contrast paint? That's the big question. That I don't know. Have you guys ever done that? Like, I have a couple bottles of just straight up contrast medium. Is that how you do it? Could also dry brush and make the fur shiny. Put some more of that sparkle stuff on. Anyway, I think I can get started with Xandri Dust as my dry brushing, highlighting stuff. That I think I'm confident in. This is swiftly turning into weird late night experimental adventure, but I guess that's par for the course here. I just only need one of these. Use that side. I think I need to use a tiny dry brush. I think so. Yeah, tiny sounds good. Yeah, so this has a nice tannish color. I think that'll work. Oh, I do love me some heresy. All right, give this a little scooch. That's coming through. This may get more than one dry brushing. I may have to go with something a little bit lighter, but I like it. Not super light, which I guess is good. Like it definitely comes out a lot more highlighty on the super dark stuff, obviously. All right, I will do that as a first pass. I do like Xandri Dust. Haven't gotten to use it a ton. Every time I use it, I feel pretty confident in it as a color. I don't know how the heck I'm going to get in there. Maybe save that for another time. I think that's just going to need some special treatment in there, and it should be a little bit dark. But getting in here, getting this cloak. I don't know if this is coming through with the lighting, but you can see that the Xandri Dust. See if these were even remotely similar. Like it naturally is just giving it a little bit contrast color in there. It's not brightening things up a ton, but that's for the best. But that little bit of color treatment it's getting. In fact, I'm gonna hit that skull with it too while I'm here. I mean, it's starting to look right. Starting to look right. This may get a slightly lighter highlight as well. Oh, this feels like pro painting. This feels good. Now I'm actually like mixing color with, this is the biggest cape I've ever had the pleasure of working on. It's the biggest piece of cloth I've ever done. And it's not even big by Warhammer standards. About as tiny as you can get and still have it be a cloak. Get inside here a bit. And I'm pushing in a decent amount with this. You can brush some on there too. Here to highlight things. But it definitely, it feels a little airbrushy, which is nice. I don't think this guy's going to get any of this. Well, we'll try. I don't know if he's going to really like it. I don't know if it's going to make sense on him, but just make him look dusty. Yeah, I think he would need something a little stronger. I mean, it's not going to hurt. But I do think I need to move on to something slightly lighter. In fact, I'll be wicked careful. I promise myself I'll be wicked careful. And I'm not going to mix paints, but I do have this rack white. And if I really go gentle on it, it'll absolutely bring up all the crazy edges. I don't even know why I tried to shake that. It is muck. It's mucky enough where let's get a stick, put some on there. We'll leave the stick out in case I need it again. This, oh, and in fact, because there's already some Xandri dust in the brush, it's naturally mixing. Scrape a little bit more of this garbage out here, get it on there. Oh, we are mixing paint. We are mixing paint in a dry brush. Don't want to get it on thick. Sort of squeeze it out a little bit. Okay. And now, our next trick. There we go. And I didn't think I was going to do anything crazy with this cloak. But I think I'm becoming converted a little bit by this. Scrape some more crap on there. A little bit lighter. A little bit lighter. A little bit lighter. Still don't want to go heavy with it. Just lightening the color up a little bit as I go. Crazy. Crazy town. Yeah, now just going like as light as I can so it really just hits the very edges of stuff. That corner I do want to hit well though. Look at that, you can see that that's lightening up. It's getting a lot of edge work in. Yeah, let's do this at an angle. Man, that is. I see why people do pretty things, not just ugly things. We shall know no fear. Still have to read Know No Fear. I've heard some people really think it's awesome. I think I got a couple more things I got to read before I get there, but I'm excited for it. Well, also gonna hit. That's right. I got this skull. Do that while I'm here, and Gorg or whatever it's Gurg, Gorg. Gurg's got some skulls on his pauldron, if I remember correct. Scully thing. Can hit those up with some of this. Oh, this thing is a mess. Now I'm incidentally mixing paint, but that's fine. All right, hit my paper towel. This brush is hurting. It's hurting. Yeah, but these skulls can be happy now. Just being gentle. Those look skull-tacular. Hit his head a little bit. Lighten things up a little. Lighten up, Gurg. You're in good company. Alright, set Gurg aside. I'm gonna get this dry brush a little bit soaked. So it's not dry anymore, so if there's any chance that this paint actually comes out. This is the dry brush that gets almost all of my riser rust. So giving it a little quick soak is just being kindly to it. And now, in theory, Gilliman Flesh makes a flesh cloak. This brush is good enough. What's great about this is that it's still Death Guard green underneath, so it's not going to look like Happy Flesh at all. Not at all. Like very unhappy flesh. Still don't know enough about contrast paint for like just how much you should glop it on. You're supposed to put quite a bit of it on, but I'm really unfamiliar, don't really know what I can do with it. Still need to figure out if I can just take regular acrylic paint and contrast medium the daylights out of it. Right, well, that stuff is showing through nicely. It's not clumping up too much. Here we go. Inside of the flesh cloak. Oh, flesh cloak, such a good idea. Shamed I didn't think of it myself. What's also really nice is it's just like red and ruddy enough where it starts to really contrast nicely with the rest of the model. I will say on this cloak, contrast paint looks really good. You may need more than one coat. We'll see. I don't know. I don't know how any of this crap works, but it is definitely doing a thing that I like. I don't know that it looks fleshy enough, but it's getting there. I may have to do a couple other things to it. I may not. The few times that I've used contrast paint, I generally use it wrong. It even more so than regular bases and shades needs time to cure in. There we go. It looks fleshy. So fleshy. Gilliman Flesh. Good stuff. And now, let's see if I have doubts. I have doubts on this skeleton horde working on the fur. That is what we're going to go with. Let me just make absolute sure I don't have any other contrast paints that might take over there. Shade contrast. Camo shade. Perhaps white. All right, well, it looks like we're going to use Skeleton Horde and see how it does. Alrighty. Brush, brush, brush. Make sure this thing is decently cleaned. And let's find out. Yeah, so this should get us to a decently light brown fur. There's a chance that I end up needing to get some sort of lighter color over it, maybe something mixed with a little bit of yellow. I am wondering whether or not I should have just wholesale. Oof. Well, so at this point in the show, I think you can probably tell from the camera, like, this is precarious. These two parts are precariously close in color. So I may have some rework to do on the fur. The fur may be the tough spot. It may have been best for me to just leave it as it was with the dry brush, but once again, we got to wait till this contrast stuff cures in and dries a bit. It is not precisely popping off. But we'll go with it for now. Probably should have dry brushed the front of this guy. It looks pretty mediocre brown. But the cloak part looks dope. Learned something there. Like, I could see the fur part needing some sort of stroke of yellow or white. This is dripping down way too much, though, buddy. You gotta go. It just get dabbed out. There you go. It does look like flesh cloak, though. Here's a question. Do people like dry brush, then contrast paint, then dry brush again? That seems like a sane thing to do. Seems relatively not too big a deal. I need to get some more color in this. Normally I would rely on the cloak to be, yeah, you can, sweet. I would rely on the cloak normally to carry a bit more color than this, but I like how it is. It just means that I gotta lean a little bit more on something else to pop. So I can definitely see a tad bit of, just dab a little bit of this out. I'm not wiping, I'm just touching the Q-tip to it so it goes, slurps up a little bit of that stuff. It's getting a little bit pooled. I think if the fur got some yellowy goldy something to it, I think would be in good shape, but the cloak is solid. Like, that is good times. Here's a question. Do you ever do 2 coats of contrast paint? Don't know. Don't really know. I have a feeling what I'm going to end up doing, and it won't be tonight, is that I'm going to go around and hand paint in a bunch of highlights on the really green, grimy parts so that some amount of light comes off of them. I think it's probably going to be like a one-way mission of whatever it was, like Death Forest Green or something like that, a lighter green. Death World Forest. I think I'm going to have to go in there and do a lot of little stuff. Like, as a baseline, that grimy stuff is good. But even with a dark wash, it's not quite cutting it. This is now my point where I understand why people use contrast paint. Like, I could have I could have grimed this guy, or primed him, grimed him, dry brushed him. Interesting lesson. It's so funny because, like, the cloak looks high quality and everything else kind of is indiscriminately mucky, which is neat. It's an important cloak. It's made out of your favorite enemy. So as a test, because I'm here, close this guy up, and I'm gonna pop open that Death Forest crunch I was talking about. Get a tiny brush and see if on my other guy, because those guys are definitely drying, I gotta chill out with how much suffering I'm putting them through. See if a little tiny dab of this stuff will carry the look a little bit better. Are you good, tiny brush? You feeling all right? And just little spot on here. Because I gotta say, green all over, not popping. Gently, just hitting the edges a little bit. There we go. Little by little. It just needs some depth. Which means if I take my time, I just go around some little details. Little edge where the shoe heel picks up. That part I sort of screwed up. That's fine. Zoink. Undo. That's better. Tiny little fiddly bits of detail. Some things will start to look a little bit more interesting. Yeah, that's working. It's not a bad way to go. I can also choose to, at a later time, come in and put some more metallics back in. I don't think that would hurt. Might help with some of the edges. But yeah, that's looking a lot better with just a little bit of a highlight color going on. Yeah, it's coming along. Taking my time. Death World Forest seems like a misnomer, but we'll let it slide. Alrighty. Just getting tiny little highlights in. I will dry brush that skull with something to bring the depth out in it. Well, I think this is working out. It's not a crazy amount of color, and this guy does have a couple little tentacly bits that I'm going to go over with Bugman's Glow at some point. It's not a crazy amount of color and contrast, but it's like enough to start selling the look. I'm feeling better and better with each moment that I'm working on this little spot. Months ago, I would never be painting this with this light a touch anywhere. Still am screwing it up like half the times, but these sort of edge highlights are something I'm comfortable enough to at least try every time. And that is big progress. No fear. Or at least I know a lot of fear, but I'm like coping. Cope with yourself. Get over yourself is what it is. All right, just get down this little edge. Look at that. Things are starting to pop out. Just like we planned. It does take a lot of time to get these in here. Peek over in just un momento. Excited. There we go. Do checking out the Discord. Do. Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean you see what I mean. Like that bit of red and green just starts like it just adds so much interest to the model. That looks really cool. And that's a lot of like what I'm doing with the Death Guard sort of I don't know what it is, like loinclothy sort of piece of stuff that it just gets you enough of a different contrary color where there's something to draw the eye around. Generate some interest. That looks really cool, Dane. I dig it. Sneak this brush in here. There we go. Yeah, details. It's almost like you're not getting any paint on the brush when you do this. If you're doing it right, it's like barely any, like the brush is not wet. It's just enough to barely force any color to scooch over onto the model. That's it. The tiniest amount. Try to hit this edge a little bit. bit on the front of the skull. I'm just dabbling. Just dabbling. Okay, there's a little spot back here, which is extremely precarious. Got it. Yeah, yeah. You're shaping up, buddy. You are shaping up. Some of these you go over more than once. The second time you go over them a little bit smaller than the first time, it turns into more of a highlight. Yeah, I think if I had like 3 weeks, I could knock that out. It does, man, it's so crazy how much a tiny little bit of color in a different spot matters. It just doesn't seem like that little of a line of paint that is going to totally soak in and disperse would make that much of a difference, but it so totally does. I think I just had no faith. I think you watch videos that are super close up, and the person kind of just goes like this, and then like later it's a post shot of it, and you're like, oh wow, that looks really good. I never really believe that those things are real, but a lot of them are. It's just you're barely touching the thing with the brush, but it does matter. It accrues. It adds up. It's glorious. A tiny little bit of paint for you. Now this is like an amazing amount of effort to just sort of bring this thing back to the point where it has any contrast to it. But it's cool. So we get some of the shiny spots. That section again. Just sort of dab a little on some of the edges. There we go. Classing this guy up. Yeah, a little there. I think for me the other thing is using a color that's relatively close to what's underneath it and being able to take your time and bring it up little by little is pretty important. I think the couple times that I tried this before, I was trying to do too much color contrast too fast. It was just, it looked clowny. Like, let's do white on top of red. See how that treats you. It was too much. I'm getting a lot more comfortable with more coats. Alrighty. I think that proves out those highlights. I think that still needs a little time to dry. I think at this point I have committed enough to the things that I'm doing that I'm gonna call it a night. I have done wet coat of paint on wet coat of paint on wet coat of paint enough times where I think I've rolled the dice enough that these guys need a little bit of time to chill. So there's a lot more detail in here. It's like skull, there's some tentacly business over there. Those are going to get some different color on top of all this stuff, so I'm confident that things will start to pop. I think using that Death World Forest to hit a bunch of edges and spots that just need some brightness of the most drab brightness ever. I think that'll be very helpful. And then I've got all the metallics and extra details to do. But I think essentially most of this is like kind of base coaty. I think Flesh Cloak is dope. Yeah, I think it's a good place to pause for the night, let things dry proper, have a sip of tea. Yeah, this one's definitely been a journey because I was like slopping the stuff on, but I think it's just that they're gonna take some care and some steps. But I'm very inspired with how how the cloak and the fur looks right now. The skeleton horde did do what I thought it was going to do, which is like lighten up quite a bit in there, which is good. But we are getting there. I think next time will be a bunch of the auxiliary mechanics. So like lead belcher on this, on the blade before I rust it, on this blade over here, and I will use it tactically in a few little spots to make other little things pop. Like I'll use it on a couple little bolts here and there and stuff like that. Yeah, but not too shabby. Not too shabby. This cloak is absolutely evidence why like people use contrast paints after dry brushing on like all that fabric stuff. It's like, oh my god, it looks great. Oh, Dan, you have a very good sense of humor. They're coming along. Um, every model has its own special uniqueness. Even your Plague Lords. So anyway, I'm gonna bounce and play some video games before I pass out. But I'm pretty I'm pretty psyched about these guys. I think they're coming along. It's been a little bit of a journey this time, but I don't know. I may be doing a lot of administrative stuff this week, and I'll try to get on tomorrow night. I think I'm probably gonna start like no longer streaming 7 days a week. I'll probably like take Sunday and Monday off or something like that. But if I can keep a solid 5 days a week, that'll be cool. And then I can still do stuff like figuring out why some of my mugs don't ship, excuse me. Anyhow, thank you very much for hanging out. Thanks for all the support and great ideas, and hopefully we'll see you next time. Bye bye.